And here's our last page of the assessment. We have a couple story problems here. Andrea worked out by walking and running on a park trail. She walked 2/5 of the trail and then ran 1/4 of the trail. A says, how much of the trail has she covered? Show your work. Did Andrea walk farther or run farther? How much farther did she? How much farther? Show your work. So um, in this problem, we have she's walking 2/5 and then she ran 1/4. The first question is, how much of the trail did she cover? So we could just add those two together, or if we want to show like a little trail here, we can say, what's 2/5 of, this trail. If this is the walking trail, how much she walked, and then over here we can say how much she ran. Let's just pick that we have a 5 and a 4. We'd have a common denominator of 20, so we can just pretend that this trail would be 20 kilometers long or 20 miles long, something like that. And we want to find out the walking one was 2/5. We can split this into 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 5 equal parts. So 20 divided by 5. Each section would be worth 4, because 20 divided by 5, because we split into fifths, so we divided by 5, equals 4. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and she walked 2/5 of that. So we can take a different color here and say she walked 1/5, 2/5, so that'd be worth 8/20ths. So she walked 8/20ths of the trail. And then running is 1/4, which is a little bit easier. We have half, and now we have fourths. So half the trail is 10. Half of a half would be 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, and she ran 1/4 of this, so one piece, 1 out of 4, which would be 5/20ths. And then if we put those together, walking and running, 8/20ths, 5/20ths, she would have covered of the whole trail 13/20ths. There's your part A answer. Did Andrea walk farther or run farther? Well, we could look at this really easily. She's walking 8/20ths, and she ran 5/20ths. So we could obviously see 8 out of 20 is bigger than 5 out of 20. She definitely walked farther. And then how much farther? I might see my work above, or you can just say walking is 2/5 equals 8/20ths, and 1/4 equals 5/20ths. And then we just found the difference. We subtracted. So 8/20ths minus 5/20ths, the difference there would be 3/20ths. So a lot of people are probably asking, well, how did you know to make the trail 20? Well, this is just a model for this one. You could have just, if we start all over, I'm going to erase this here and just say, there's the final answer. We'll get to the same answer. We could just add those together. We might have said, I'm just going to add how far she walked, how far she ran. So you would get 2/5 plus 1/4. So here's how the trail became 20, because what is our common denominator going to be? We would pick 20 and 20. So that's times 4. 2 times 4 is our 8. Remember, that's what we just had for how much she walked. And then how did the 4 become 20? It's times 5. 1 times 5 is 5. And that's what we had for her running. And then if you just add them together, there's our answer. So the trail model that I just showed is just another way to think about it. But again, you could just find your common denominators, add them together, and then just keep track of what the 8/20ths was worth. So 8/20ths came from where? The 2/5, which was walking. So that's how much she walked farther. And then she ran 5/20ths, and there's your difference. And number 10, a little bit estimating in this first part. David ran half a mile down the high school track and then walked 1/3 of a mile. How far did David go in all? Choose the best estimate. So is it more than a mile? If I just ballparked this, 1/2, I can think of a number line, 0 to 1 mile. And he went halfway, so he's already right there, half the distance. And then add on walking 1/3. Would that put me over? I'd have to go a half mile more. So 1/3, 1 out of 3 is definitely less than half. I would think 1/3 might only be about like 1/3 on here, we can mark it in red so you can see this. If I cut this into thirds, it'll be about that big. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So I have to add on a piece about that big from this line. So it'd probably end me, I would think, like right about here on the trail or on the track. So that's in between. It's smaller than 1 mile. We didn't quite get there, so this is not a good answer. Is it more than a half mile but less than a whole mile? That's looking like where I'm at. I like this answer, but let's see if this is less than a half mile. Well, if he already ran a half mile and then walked some more, it can't be this one. So we're going to have process of elimination. We like this answer right here. How far did David go in all? Use numbers, labeled sketches, show all your work, blah, blah, blah. So let's get rid of this stuff up here. And we have 1/2 running, 1/3 walking. So we just have 1/2 plus 1/3. Again, you could use a trail if you want to, find a common denominator. We talked a lot about clocks. If we thought of a clock in this problem, just to show you that example, 1/2 would be the same as, there's 0, 3, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'm sorry, this would be 12. And then we have half a clock would be 6 out of 12. 1/3 of a clock, let me just draw another one over here, 12, 3, 6, 9. So 12 divided into 3 would be 4 hours. So we kind of come down here, we go to 4, and then we go to 8, and it's 1/3, which would be at 4 o'clock. So it's 4 out of 12. And that gives me 10/12. And then you could simplify that, divide by 2 if you wanted to, and 5/6. So that's what kind of a clock, referring to the clocks you want to see on homeworks, things like that. Or if you don't like the clock one, you might just know right away, hey, Mr. T, I'm going to just choose 6 for my common denominator. 6 and 6. 1/2 is the same as 3/6. Thirds times 2 times 2. And that's where our 5/6 came from. 5/6. And the last one, when Sarah solved this problem, she got 2/5 of a mile for her answer. Is this a reasonable answer? Why or why not? So 2/5. Remember what we had up here? I wish I didn't erase it now. We knew that David ran at least a half of a mile and then a little bit more because of the 1/3. He's walking. We put him right about here. This is where he ended up. So bigger than a half, but less than 1 whole. So we would say, is 2/5 a reasonable answer? Well, 2 out of 5. Is that more than half or less than half? 2 out of 5. Not quite to halfway yet. So 2/5 would probably be somewhere down here. 2/5 is less than halfway. It's shorter. So I would say that this is not reasonable. David ran half of a mile and walked 1/3. So he went over half of a mile and 2/5 is less than half. And there you have it. I believe that's the last question for Unit 2, pre-assessment study guide. Good luck on your post-assessment. I know you will do just fine. Have a great day. Thank you.